Are you actually the body? No, because there's many reasons why. First of all, you are aware of the body. Now, the body is an object of sentiency, which means it appears in the light of sentiency. So, like, what I mean by that is you have the physical sun, and objects which pass in front of the sun, they become illuminated by its light, right? They become visible. Like that, the body is an object of your sentiency. It is not your sentiency itself. If you look at your hand, the hand is not sentient. It's not sentient of you. Like, on which side is sentiency? Sentiency is on your side, not on the side of the hand. If you cut off your finger, and then you look at it, I mean, hypothetically, not literally, and then you look at it in your mind, visualize it, notice all the cells are still there, all the neurons are still there, all the bone's still there, everything's the same, the process of decay hasn't set in yet. And yet you don't identify with it. Why don't you identify with it? It's no good to respond to this by saying it's a part of me, because that's incredibly vague. Like, that's incredibly cryptic. That could mean literally anything. You need to be more specific rather than just say it's a part of me. Be more specific. What do you mean by that? And then normally what people say, well, there's a sense of touch associated to it. Okay, but again, you could take a drug which would numb the hand so that it had no sense of touch and no control over it. Would it still be you? The answer is that it's not you now, and it's not you even after that. You just have a sense of touch which pervades it because of the neurons. And the neurons don't even, like, this is a false identification, because the neurons don't even consist of the entire hand, right? The neurons which give you the sense of touch, they actually pervade a very small portion of the hand. They do not pervade most of the hand. They only pervade a small portion of it. And so when you identify with the hand, you're not actually, based on it having a sense of touch, you're not actually identifying with the hand. You're identifying with the neurons, which make up only a tiny minority of the hand. And thus you see how kind of misconstrued human identification is. Let me explain what's going on here. Imagine you have a virtual reality headset, and you get so lost and immersed in it, which if anyone who has used a VR headset would tell you happens, that you completely forget there's an existence outside the VR headset, and you start identifying with the character in the VR headset. This literally happens. You start looking at other characters and you say, you are blonde, you are fat, you are this, you are that, and they also say, like, you are tall, you are short, you are this or that, and you become oblivious to the fact that it's all just, frankly, an illusion. You become oblivious to that. You identify with the character in the VR headset, and all the criticisms I just made now could also be made to the VR character. Like, for example, if you take the VR character and you cut off its finger, and then you look at it, notice that you are aware of it. It's an object of your sentiency. It's a totally insentient, inert object which consists of just fat and bone and so on and so on. And like, how is it a part of you? It's not a part of you at all. Like, it's just not. So the body, notice also that the body is changing, right? So the blood, when it circulates, you don't come into and out of existence with its circulation. With the lungs, when it inhales oxygen and dehails carbon dioxide, you don't come into and out of existence. It's not like you breathe in, you come into existence, you breathe out, you go out of existence. It's not like you cease to exist in between heartbeats. Now, if you were synonymous with the body, you should cease to exist. So when the heart stops beating, in that gap in between two heartbeats, you should go out of existence. You don't. You remain aware. When the blood circulates and then stops, you should go out of existence. So the body, in other words, is constantly changing. But you observe all these changes, like you, sentiency. You just remain there and you just observe the changes, and you don't come into and out of existence with them, and you don't change with them. You just observe them all in the background, in a manner of speaking. So you're aware of the body, which means the distance between you and the body. The body is constantly changing and you're not changing with it. The body is totally insentient, whereas you are very much sentient. And so based on all these analyses, it's very clear you can be the body. If you're being honest with yourself and you're an honest person, like you're a good person, and this video is intended for people who have purified themselves through virtue, if you're a good person, you will understand all these arguments, and you understand pretty quickly, yeah, I'm not the body. But if you're so engrossed in that identity, you're just not open to reason, because animals don't reason. Like if you look to a dog, for example, and it barks, and it knows it's barking upsets other people, will it think to itself, oh, I've upset other people, how do I control this barking addiction I have? No, it doesn't, because it's a dog. It doesn't have that capacity of reasoning yet. In the same way, many humans don't have that capacity to kind of reason out why they're not the body. And so all of these words, even though they're totally true, will just completely fall off of their head, and they'll just think, I don't get what you're saying, I'm the body, and then they'll just walk away. No, you're not the body. That's a total illusion. You're not the body. Period. And I mean, even like the physiological process, like the feeling of touch, I mean, you're aware of that also, and you exist, like, you're not touching anything right now, right? So there's no sensation of touch, yet you exist. And now if you touch something, okay, that was a feeling of touch on the skin, thanks to the neurons there. But you didn't come into existence with the sensation of touch. And this is again proof that you're not the sensation of touch, because you should come into existence with it and then go out of existence when you stop touching, if you're synonymous with it. But you don't. You don't, because you're not it, and you're aware of it. It's an object in your sentiency, like how the earth is an object in the light of the sun. This is something that's an object of your sentiency. And not only that, sentiency is on your side, not on the sensation of touch. It's not like a sensation of touch has sentiency. Sentiency is on your side, right? And the same is true for all the other physiological processes called the manos in ancient Greek, hunger, thirst, coldness, pressure, all these different sensations the human body permits us to experience, where its configurations. You don't come into existence with them, you don't go out of existence with them, and none of them is sentient. You're not any of those either. Same thing is true of thoughts also. Like thoughts come into existence, you don't go into existence with them. They go out of existence, you don't go out of existence with them. And at that point you may object, wait a minute, is that true? And the response is, yes, it's true, and now we're getting to the crux of the matter. So that's experience, just like we did with the previous examples. If you close your eyes and you stop thinking. So there's no thoughts, there's no perceptions. It's even better if you do this in a kind of quiet environment at night, so there's no sounds and there's no disturbances, just completely silent. And yet you are there. This is what you realize if you actually do it. You don't cease to exist. So just like sensations, just like the inhalation and exhalation of oxygen, just you don't go out of existence with those. In the same way, thoughts stop, and just like with the physiological sensations, like touch, just like with the heartbeat, you don't go out of existence with them. They're gone. There's no thoughts. There's no perceptions. Yet you have not ceased to exist. This is what's directly experienced, and if you can experience that via shutting down these thoughts in the mind and the perceptions in the mind, then that is the realization that nous or sentiency is immortal. It never appears, which just means it never appears and disappears. It never comes and goes. It doesn't come and go with the physiological processes like heat and cold. It doesn't come and go with perceptions. It doesn't come and go with sounds. It doesn't come and go with smells or tastes. It doesn't come and go with sensation of touch. It doesn't come and go with the body. You can cut off the hand, imagine, but you don't cease to exist with it. If you are synonymous with the hand, as soon as it's cut off, you should go out of existence. You don't, because you're not the hand. And you can do the same thing with any organ of the body. And now, you may say at this point, okay, I don't cease to exist with thoughts, with perceptions, with sensations, with anything that's an object of sentiency, that is an object of sentiency, that is not sentiency itself, which is me, obviously, being sentient. So, okay, so I'm not any of this. But what happens in sleep? Suppose, okay, so you cut off the hand, I don't cease to exist. You cut off the arm, I don't cease to exist. But suppose you cut out the heart. Wouldn't I cease to exist then? Again, but the preceding thing, you don't cease to exist when thoughts and perceptions cease to exist. And there's no void. Because, you see, this misconception that, hang on, if you cut out the heart, won't I cease to exist? The response is, you'd think you would for the same reason you think you cease to exist at sleep at night. There seems to be a void, but that void is an illusion. Here's why. If you are put under general anesthesia, and anyone who's been put under general anesthesia can confirm this. I can confirm this. If you keep your eyes open, they tell you to count down to 10. and you count down, 10, 9, 8, 7, and then like suddenly it's like at the click of a finger in less than a second, you look around and you're informed like so many hours have passed. Now, if you had closed your eyes during this, while you were being put under general anesthesia, it would have seemed like there was a void there, when in actual fact there is no void. It's only because your eyes are closed, there seems to be like a black void, whereas in fact it doesn't exist. Now, the thoughts, you can't, now we've established you can still exist when there's no thoughts and perceptions. That's our experience. You can do it now. You can do it in deep meditation and go back and confirm over and over and over again, yes, I do not cease to exist when there's no thoughts and perceptions. Just like I don't cease to exist when there's when physiological sensations like heat or cold or pressure come and go, or in the same, or bodily processes like the heartbeat or blood flow, when they come and go. In the same way, I don't cease to exist when these mental processes like thoughts and perceptions come and go, or smells and tastes. It doesn't happen. And that's for us to confirm experientially over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until it's completely beyond any doubt to us. And then, okay, so then it's established, okay, so the thoughts and perceptions disappear as we're falling asleep. This is our experience, right? As we're falling asleep, the mind quietens down. I call this passing out, or falling asleep and passing out. They mean the same thing. As we pass out or fall asleep, thoughts and perceptions slow down until they dissipate, and then they disappear completely. And then that gives us the illusion that there's a void just because our eyes are shut. There's actually no void or gap there. If we could fall asleep with our eyes wide open, it'd be just like under general anesthesia. There's no gap or void there. None. Sentiency never experiences a gap or a void, and it outlasts time. So, thoughts and sensations, they disappear, and then sentiency, or nous, then transcends time completely. And this is the final realization in my experience, the kind of final realization that sentient, that puts an end to the fear of death completely. It just puts an end to it totally. Sentiency, or nous, outlasts time itself. That is experienced by anyone who has gone under general anesthesia. Anyone and has kept their eyes open. Sentience or nous, it's not like you're put under general anesthesia, you enter the state of passing out, so thoughts and perceptions start slowing down, although it happens a lot faster under general anesthesia than it does while falling asleep regularly. The feeling of passing out, the thoughts and perceptions becoming slower until they stop, that's very elongated in falling asleep in regular cases, but when you put under general anesthesia, it's extremely fast, like less than a second. But the point is that after that happens, and your eyes open, you directly experience. It's not like there's like you go out of existence and there's like a void and there's just non-existence. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Sentiency, or nous, never experiences a gap in its own experience. Never. It outlasts time. And that is because it belongs to the noetic order of reality. All around us right now, everywhere, all pervasive, there is a layer of reality underlying what's called highly. Highly is what projects perceptible things. Cells, chairs, tables, they're not things in themselves. Like if you look at an ocean and you ask, is it an ocean or is it water? Or is it an ocean or is it atoms? The answer really is atoms, because there's nothing there but atoms. You can't point to a single part of it that's not atoms. But those atoms themselves are just made up. They're just an appearance of subtler stratum, like quantum quarks, and beyond that, quantum waves, and so on. The deepest substratum, which projects all the upper layers, like quarks, atoms, cells, perceptible objects, is called highly. And depending upon our connection to highly, it manifests itself in different ways. And this is why each different species has a radically different perception of reality than you or me do as humans. What you perceive and what you are certain of is an objective perception, such as the moon or a chair or a table or a laptop. That looks completely different to a different species of life. Which one has the correct perception? Which one has the correct perception? The answer is neither of them. As noetic beings, they're hooked up to highly. They exist in the noetic order of reality. and they're hooked up to highly, and then highly modulates itself in a certain way, and then that gives them a unique perception. And neurons and brain and atoms and quarks are all parts of that perception. They're all parts of the projection. They're not the actual configuration itself that gives rise to those perceptions. But humans mistake the perception for what is actually there, projecting it highly. So, for example, they would look at the ocean, or a better example, they would look at an apple, and they would mistake what they perceive the apple as the fundamental reality. What's actually there is an apple. But you can cut up the apple, and you can cut it up to such small pieces you reduce it to cells. So the apple was just an appearance of cells. When cells assemble themselves in a certain way, that's just how an apple appeared. The apple cannot exist without the cells, but the cells can exist without the apple. This is the difference between ousia and doxatos. In the same way, you can reduce those cells to atoms. So the cells were just an appearance of atoms. The cells cannot exist without the atoms, but the atoms can exist without the cells. You see how everything's an appearance. In the same way, those neurons, human and the brain, humans are mistaking that for what's fundamentally there. What's really going on is down at the level of highly, and then these upper stratums are just parts of the appearance, they're just parts of the projection. They're not what's fundamentally there. When perception or experience is altered, like if you take a shovel to someone's brain, for example, what's actually going on is that you're affecting what's going on down at the level of highly. Just as if you cut up an apple, what you're really doing is you're affecting the atomic configurations rather than the cells or the actual perception of the apple. What's really going on is imperceptible to our senses. You're actually affecting the atoms. And of course, those atoms are also a part of appearance. How highly presents itself via its configurations to our human perception, which of course differs from animal to animal. How you perceive an atom and how you perceive a cell is totally different from how a different species of life perceives an atom or a cell or a chair or a table. Which one has the correct perception? Which one? The answer is neither. The noetic being, when it hooks itself up to highly, which is the stratum of all perceptible things, then highly projects these things, and then they appear to us in a certain way. And when you affect perceptible things, what you're actually affecting is the configurations of highly. And that's what's actually going on. Now, that noetic being, that highly is the equivalent to a virtual reality headset. And you are the equivalent to someone who is wearing the virtual reality headset. This is literally what's going on. And this is why you're able to outlast time totally. As in the case of general anesthesia, without you ceasing to exist, time is able to just like disappear totally. Without you ceasing to exist. This is why you don't have any discontinuity in your own experience. You have become associated with highly, connected to highly, and highly then projects body and nervous system and all the different layers, atoms and cells. It projects it all, and then you become identified with it. And this is called the fall or descent, katabasis. Real home is independent of highly. Now, what's going to happen after death is that connection you have with highly is going to get severed. The connection, by the way, is called orchima, or pneuma in ancient Greek philosophy. When that connection is severed, then you will experience what is actually substantive, and that's the cosmos nuitos. That is the all-pervasive noetic, sentietic realm, which is underlying, which is the stratum of highly, which is then in turn the stratum of everything it's projecting, everything you're looking at right now. And this is why all the ancient Greek philosophers said there's gods inside literally everything, which is true. There are gods inside literally everything, because the cosmos nuitos, as the substratum of highly, in turn, which is the substratum of all perceptible things, the cosmos nuitos is within literally everything. And so when that connection, so death basically is like having the virtual reality headset removed, and then you see what the world that's outside the virtual reality headset. That's exactly what it is. Your connection with highly is severed as a result of the configurations of highly becoming totally inoperable for you, and then you witness what is actually the substratum of highly, and that's the cosmos nuitos, where the gods are located, where the daimons, the noetic entities are located. You can call them angels. I like that because it gives a kind of religious connotation, which I like. Now, this is the actual nature of existence. And I implore anyone who listens to this to study the works of the ancient Greek philosophers, to introspect, which means to sit there and just meditate, but most importantly, to do theurgy. Render devotional service to your holy guardian angel, and ask it to reveal these things to you, because it can't come about as a result of conceptual knowledge. It can't. All of this stuff comes about because it gets revealed to you by the holy guardian angel. And unless you ask the holy guardian angel, who is one of those noetic beings just like you are, who is located within the highly, as the substratum of the highly in the cosmos nuitos, but unlike you is not connected to highly, it is disassociated from highly, unlike you. And it's watching over you, it's guiding you, it's trying to bring you back, and you're surrounded by tons of other noetic entities also, but are imperceptible to you. And when theurgy, you deal with all that, and you get their help, and they reveal all this to you, and they purify you, and they deliver you. And unless you ask for this via theurgy, and unless you engage in theurgy, none of this can become evident. It just remains abstract, or it remains strange.